Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Hybrid Ministry Show. This is a fun, actually, interview episode. So, for those of you who have been watching, following along over the last year or so, I've mentioned my resident. His name is Caleb. Now I call him Flywheel because he was in his residency group learning project and he needed to read From Good to Great, and he needed to read the Flywheel chapter. And so I called him Flywheel. And he now calls me Thunderdog because I'm an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. But anyway, he's been with us for a year now, and I wanted to get his take. Today, we actually said goodbye to him. We had like a breakfast at our house with him and my family. And so he's heading back home. But I wanted to get his take on what it was like to work in a hybrid ministry environment. Like, you know, as a resident, you don't really get a lot of choices on that. And so since he didn't get a lot of choices, I want to be like, hey, what'd you think? What are you going to keep? What are you going to go away from? And so I'm excited to have you kind of sit in on this interview, just conversation, informal, him and I, and just kind of his experience in this sort of hybrid space. So hope you enjoy. If this is helpful to you or anyone else that you might think, give it a like, give it a share, give it a subscribe. All those things are incredibly helpful to us. So without any further ado, the exclusive, one and only, Flywheel Caleb Maeda interview. Well, I'm here with Flywheel Maeda.
Hey.
So I don't know. You came into my world, and I told you that hybrid ministry, digital ministry, all that stuff mattered. Mm-hmm. So take me back to when you started with me at back in Chicago.
Yeah. So back in Chicago was my first church job in general. So I wasn't really sure how anything worked. So I think that really started my mindset on hybrid ministry, because I didn't have any previous things I was holding on to. I had youth group that I grew up in, but
right.
It was pretty different. And also coming out of the pandemic, it made sense. And then when I saw it working, and I saw, because the model that you guys used with the connect groups that met in the homes and then watched it and interacted with it, I thought that was super cool. And so then also getting to work on that show and help produce a little bit and run some of this stuff, I immediately saw the value. And also just being a younger person, I grew up watching YouTube. The people that I loved growing up were YouTubers. And so the value of that platform with this generation, I think I also kind of related to. And so from the get-go, I was just kind of bought in. I was yeah, this is legit. I agree. I'm in.
Did you ever feel oh, these guys are trying to be YouTubers and they're old?
No, because I think at the time, it was honestly the stuff that I was working on at PARKVIEW was the search for Chuck the Duck that summer. And so it was not stupid enough, but it was stupid enough that it was these guys, they're clearly not doing this for clout. I don't know any 30-year-old man who's it would be really cool searching for a fake rubber duck for an entire summer, And so I never got that kind of vibe just because of the nature of what we were doing.
Yeah. Okay, so then you, after your time with us in Chicago, you go and you work at your home church for a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Just interning. Mostly in the arena of worship, right?
No, it was youth for the first school year, and then it was worship the second school year.
What was their relationship with digital, social media, hybrid?
I mean, so they're your typical evangelical covenant multi-site church. So they're with it, but they're not
I wonder how many evangelical covenant multi-site churches there are. You say typical,
I actually don't know. It's a thing in Minnesota, I guess, from where I grew up. But so they do have a value of social media, but they're not quite as consistent. They don't have, I don't think. And granted, when I was there, their social media platform was, we didn't have students over Christmas break, so let's make something fun, and that was it, other than announcements for events and stuff.
Yeah.
And now these days it's a little bit more the trends where you see a guy fall off a stretcher and then it's someone rolling and say you should get to those kind of things.
I was thinking we need to do some of this.
I saw one the other day we should do. But so they've started doing some more of that stuff in the past year or so, and so I think it's done an uptick, but it's not as fleshed out as what we're doing here of 2 posts a day, that kind of a
thing.
And they
2
don't
posts like a damn good day.
Yeah, and they don't do fun content like drafts or like things like that. The students, other than like pictures for like recaps of events and stuff, they're not super on the pages. It's mostly like announcement based stuff. Yeah.
Which like is a pretty like standard operating procedure for like churches and social media. Have a whole video linked right here about
you should
stop
also
posting announcements.
You should link the PARKVIEW one too.
Well, I only can do one at a time. I can only do one per.
Well, yeah, but we did it.
Video.
We did. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I know you didn't.
Never mind.
That's why you linked it like 3 times in your last teaching video.
Don't worry about it.
This linked right here, and this linked right here.
I thought you could.
You get one. You get one card per video. There you go.
I didn't know that.
YouTube.
I didn't know that.
101.
I'm getting exposed right now. I thought never mind.
It's all good.
We can talk about that later.
But okay, so then you come here, and what we're doing is very different. The PARKVIEW one, by the way, I'll link it down in the description. You can watch it. It's like the
100th episode.
100th episode, how it all started.
It's pretty pog.
Yeah, I think it was a good one.
It was a good one.
But anyway, you come down here and it's different. Put aside your people-pleasing nature. Like, just give me the raw, unfiltered, like, what'd you think?
I mean, again, like, I agreed with what we were doing because I think of my experience at PARKVIEW. I think for me, once we started doing or like trying to make students on the page more of a priority, that was kind of the shift that I was more on board with, just because like like the one I struggled with the most were those like the know it or not dancing TikToks that we did. I'm not a dancer, so I hated them, but like I hated them because I was not a dancer and not for like strategy reasons. But once we started getting students on the page, I think that was where I started feeling like, we're doing something that like is cool. That was kind of my first.
So you are heading like off on your own at some point. We don't know what's next.
Yeah.
But like, what are your thoughts on like, all right, I'm about to be my own youth pastor, and I just did a summer internship and then a year-long residency with a church and youth pastors who are fully bought into like digital. Like, first of all, summarize your opinion. Like you gave a lot of different like examples. Like summarize like, do you think it's like worth it, valuable, and then like how would you tell people like here's how it's working on like the inside of it? Because like you know, if anyone follows me or listens to any of my stuff, like they hear me reference it, talk about what we do, but like you got to see like firsthand and like just be honest. Like, are you like I don't know if it's working or not?
I mean, I think the things that have been working the most has been getting students involved on the page, not even in terms of like on the page traction as much as like in-person traction almost. Because I think like with the social challenge that we did, with the hot wings thing that we did, like it was a lot of kids saying like, hey, how can I be on screen? You know, is what it was. It was what can I do? Yeah. And like while that shouldn't be your only motivation to like do these things, I think it lended itself great to increasing like the desire to like serve or like
and like they're like you said, like what's normal to them, like and the option to like be on social media or be on YouTube is like a little bit.
Well, because like I remember growing up and like seeing all my favorite YouTubers and thinking like, man, I wish I could do that, but I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. And so I think it's a really great way for students to even live that little piece of them who like, they don't know how to set up a studio. They don't know what lights are. They don't know what that is.
That's Jake.
Yeah, it is Jake. Shout out to Jake. I love you. But like it's an experience for them to get to like live that out a little bit, and then also do it in like a safe context where like it's like I don't know, it's safe for the family content. Like I think also just like the opportunity
safe
to
for
just
the whole family.
Yeah, it is. Like the opportunity to just like replace one video, I think in a kid's feed is like a win in my opinion, because of just like the nature of social media, you know, like we can get into the whole of like comparing our lives and stuff, or like we can watch stupid people draft like pizza toppings and pick Palios as number one. You know,
that's the worst decision ever.
I agree.
So okay, so off you go. What's your
womp womp.
what's your like as of today, data recording, all that stuff. Like, what do you think your future relationship with like digital and hybrid is gonna? Obviously, you don't know where you're headed, but like, I guess pie in the sky. Like, what would be ideal?
The hope would be to recreate this just in the north. Like I said, like I think that what we're doing is working. I think, again, like I don't think it's as much about the followers on the page. It's more about what we're seeing in the room, you know, like even like just seeing some of the kids drafting against each other and like the relationships that are getting built. Like even within that, like you're getting pairs of like two students who like wouldn't typically talk together, and now they're being forced to like draft something and like communicate, and like that can make them walk away with some form of connection. And so I think those are the things that I like about what we're doing. And so I would definitely want to create something like that that's like students on the page driven, where it's all about like it's a tool to use that to build community at our group.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the way that I've laid out, because like what you're talking about even too is like your strategy is like coming at it from like a different even angle.
Yeah.
So like my strategy is like do fun and silly and stupid content to like just get on people's feeds and get their attention.
Yeah.
Maybe grab a follow, maybe like start showing up more and more in their algorithm.
Yeah.
Then sprinkle in teaching content, things that like are meaningful and spiritual and whatever. But then have that push them then further down the funnel to like our long form video on YouTube, which then always has like a next step.
Yeah, well, and then like also being able to use the YouTube account like we did literally like on Sunday, where we took the QR code to the baptism series, and like that's how we're pushing kids to baptism now, is they can go through that class. Like I think having that as also like a resource page on top of the other benefits has been really cool. Yeah,
but it's like, I guess what's interesting is like how you're saying like you see the value of digital and how it plays in the room even, you know, and like that's a different benefit than I often even talk about on here, right? Like I'm always just saying like online to like walk down this funnel, but like you're saying like even if that doesn't happen, like our current pool of students that exist, like we see them interacting and engaging with us, because like I think a lot of times digital is approached for like how to reach outsiders, and you're seeing it as like but also it can like increase the experience for insiders.
Yeah, for sure. And like also like I mean, it's also a great like invite way, because you can be like, hey, do you friend from school that doesn't typically go to church want to come to church to try to be in a YouTube video? Like that's also like it's multifaceted. You can use it for a lot of different things.
Yeah. What have been some of the challenges of being on in a hybrid culture? Like what has been asked of you that has been of the biggest?
Just like the time it takes to edit videos takes away from other things that you can do. And like obviously having a team, like once we got, you know, the interns kind of cooking on drafts and stuff, that lightened the load. But I felt like the first half of my residency, I would come to work.
Shout out to Eli, who's
shout out to
cooking
Eli
on a draft right now.
But I feel like my first chunk of my residency was I would show up and I would edit, and like that was what I did. Which like good, because now I can edit, and like it's a skill that I can market in the future for non-church related products.
If you're hiring.
But yeah, shout out, please help me. But so I think that
I'll put Caleb's phone number down in the
appreciate
description.
it. Yeah.
13 of our viewers will.
I'm poor. Please, my Venmo is somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think that was tough for me for a little bit, just because also like I'm just a relationally driven person, and so like the moments like even in the office that like drive me are like the conversations that I'm having with people.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a struggle, or at least an adjustment period. But also it was interesting because I went to college for music, but since it was a liberal arts school, I took a couple film classes.
Yeah.
And I like learned Premiere in those classes already. And so when I came down here and you're like, yeah, we're gonna be editing in Premiere, I was like, I know ripple delete. I can kind of do that. And so
teach people.
It was a little bit of like a mixed bag of like adjustment, but also familiarity at the same time. And also just kind of like reprioritizing my schedule to see like where things fit.
Does editing matter in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it does. I think, actually, I'm not sure. I think it does. I think in terms of like grabbing attention, like the fastest way to make your content more appealing without adjusting your content is just in the editing.
Yeah.
Like you can make a highlight reel of like any NBA player and make them look good. Same with like a YouTube video. Like if you've got,
there's rumors of Patrick Williams to the Thunder.
Oh really?
And I was watching like a highlight video. I was like, this guy is as good as LeBron.
Yeah. And so like I think from like like the online perspective of it, and also like engagement in the room. Like I think back to when I was a student, if you showed me this like super yellow grainy video with like the white noise in the background that's like almost as loud as the speaking, like I would disengage almost immediately just because like, oh, this is an old video, I don't care. And so I think that there's that kind of like the production value does serve a purpose, but I think we can get in the weeds a little bit. Like for our personal, just because like we're the people who like are doing the editing, so we're like, I hate that I did this, and no one would even notice the thing that we're hating.
We were talking about yesterday on stage, like the video on the photo backdrop, and like you and I could see the like the edge was a little bit still on screen, but I don't. But did you notice that before I pointed it out?
I don't know. I wasn't paying.
Probably not, right?
Attention. Probably not.
Because you didn't spend very much time on that edit at all.
But then,
so
like,
when I said, "Look," you noticed it. Then
there's the little thing, and like that's just part of I think being an artist, because like you're never gonna be perfect at your craft, and like filmmaking and editing is like an art form. Yeah. Not to get all weird about it, but like it is, and so. I think also just like not getting caught up in that I think is important, because there is a level of production value that is valuable, but I think, you know, anytime we get so caught up in the production value that we're not thinking about the content, I think that's where we're going to fall into things. So at the end of the day, we should be delivering good content to our kids, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I agree. But reach out to either of us if you need editing help.
Yeah, please. I'm poor.
Well, and for real, like how much did our lives change when we started contracting editors?
That's also true, dude. Also, like, Starry, I'm going to talk about Starry for a second. Shout out to Starry. I freaking love this dude, and I've never even talked to him. But I remember when I was doing the Hot Wings video, I started talking to him just like before the videos, just like, hey man, how's it going? I love you, bro. Yeah. And like just the opportunity to build that connection with a dude in India was really cool. Yeah. And like you would tell me some of the things that he would say back, and like I don't know, it was just really cool to like build that with a dude I've never actually spoken to. And the only reason that happened was because we got to a point where like we need someone to help us edit, and we found a dude on Fiverr. Yeah. Don't tell Fiverr that we don't go through them anymore. We didn't. We met him through the Google.
So interesting.
There's been a lot more ministry opportunities, I think, from this than I thought there would be going into it. Because I thought that like on paper, it sounds like the ministry we're doing it for online kids to get connected to a church to hopefully eventually come, and then for our kids to have like a content, right? But then there's like the editor who's like discovering Christianity for the first time and like asking questions and stuff. There's like the community that's being built on like the key kids who are like trying to do the drafts. Like all of that extra stuff is stuff that I didn't personally like think about, and then when I started seeing it, like those ended up being the reasons that like drove me to keep going rather than just the content.
So what do you think it will look like for you in the future? Like, because you know, keeping going, whatever, like you're quasi being forced to, because you're like working and like this is what we're telling you, like, hey, you have to do, but like soon you're going to be your own youth pastor working somewhere or for someone or whatever. Like what things do you see yourself just like taking?
Most of all of it, honestly. Like the short form, I think. That was the other thing. When I came in, I wasn't as big on short form videos as I was the long form videos, just because when I grew up watching YouTube was long form videos. And so taking that,
you and I just look at our Instagram Reels DMs.
Like, I know, dude, it's freaking nuts. But and so I think I'll take a lot of that stuff, especially because like it's pretty easy to get a lot of content like on a Wednesday night. Just like sit down with 10 kids and you can get like 5 or 6 drafts, you know. And so I think that, and I think the teaching videos stuff, because there have been a couple churches that I've been looking at. And like their social media is good, but like they just clip their live preachings, which I think is awesome and great, and like that's better than nothing. But I also think that there's something about the way that we change it for in the room versus the video, that I think just makes the video work a little better, because we're specifically crafting that part of our message for that medium. And so I think it's more work, but I think that the payoff is great, because also then like there's not like the room awkwardness, like there's not the like call and response, and then that frees us up for in the room to do things like table talk and all of that stuff. And also like just like having your message written down in that form for the long form videos helps you to say things that I think sometimes like I will drop in the room. Like if there's a little fun tidbit that like just isn't going to fit in the room, but I really liked it, like I have to say it in the long form YouTube video. So I think that there's also that kind of added value. But
anything else?
Nothing I can think of. Probably like honestly, I probably won't be on the student ministry page as much as I was at the beginning of this, but like I'm trying to figure out what does it look like to start this, because like I can say on paper I want all kids to be doing all the drafts all the time, but like if the kids aren't bought in, like how am I, and so
and sometimes it's helpful for them to like see examples,
and so it's kind of that like that I'm gonna try to figure out how to balance that line of like setting the tone but like making sure it's kid first, and then also like I think finding ways to like do like not only the teaching videos but like the baptism videos, like courses like that. I think I'd also want to pull, just because like I think that that's a great resource page for then that we can pull from for any time a kid has questions about baptisms. You can throw them to that. And like you can also expand that. Like you could even make the workshops that we've been doing into little video series. Like I don't know, playlists. There's like a lot of stuff that you can do.
The sky is like with playlists and like with having the idea of it being like a course, like
and like you and I have talked about this a lot, but I think like for content delivery, I think YouTube is a better way than live preaching, just because like, and like again, you've talked about this all the time, but like I don't know anybody whose primary like learning style is sit down and listen to a lecture for 30 minutes. Even you can have the best graphics as you want. Like you can have great table talks. Like I'm not going to pull as much from that as I will from like a 10-minute YouTube video with like graphics and like, I don't know. There's just something about the way our brains are wired with our shorter attention spans that I think YouTube is a great medium for content delivery in a way that like we're not getting as much in the room. I think these days.
Yeah, and I mean again, sky's the limit. Creativity, like your creativity or lack of creativity is your like lid on it. So like if you have like a system like we do now, where it's like you film all your messages and everything, like you can at any time play the video that the live teaching doesn't work. You can play the clips,
or like like we're gonna be gone. We were gone for like a conference earlier this year, so we could just throw the video up there.
Well, and like next week we're gone for camp on a Sunday, and so your video is broken up into 4 parts with questions thrown in, like so that I can literally hand it off to any volunteer, any pastor that's back here on staff, and they can do it pretty seamlessly. Like the sky, and that's the thing. If you say learning happens better in like a medium like that, like it almost makes you wonder and ask yourself, like, how do I create a hybrid moment between the two, like a live in the room and like a video where it like intersects and is like used strategically for like a student's most optimal way of learning. So
I don't know. I think it's something that like we haven't tapped into more from like tradition than anything. And I think that school is starting to go this way a little bit. Like you've heard of like the flipped classroom, where they like get a video and then they watch the video at home and then they do their homework in the classroom. And then they like talk to the teacher and work it out in the classroom, but all of the teaching is done at home through videos. And so I think that like we're starting to see that shift in like the school realm. And so I think that church should be the next step. Just because I think that, like we've been saying, like I think it's a much more effective way to deliver content to this generation. Because also, like when I think about it, like I can list, a couple topics from like sermons that I've listened to, but like Fallout YouTube videos right now that I've been watching, like I can pull a lot more purely from just like the amount that I can consume in a sitting. Like I can consume 30 minutes.
Speed,
I can consume 30 minutes of YouTube content more effectively than in the room for, all of those reasons.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, that's it, man.
Pog.
Signing out.
Skull Vikings.
Thanks for hanging. Some video will probably be here on the screen.
Yeah.
Click it. Watch it.
Do the thing.
See you next time.
Love you.
Stay hybrid.
Yeah, nice. Pog.
I gotta pee.
Okay.
I can't wait to hear that.
Nice.